Hey, so here's my garden. It's out in the back of the house, and I'll show this still standing. I'll start with the grapes here. Um, these grapes are actually a miracle grape because when my aunt moved in here, she didn't water them and they died. And they were like the best Concord grape I've ever had in my life. And when I came to live here last year, I noticed a little sprout on the ground, and there was grapes. They'd come back, and there's grapes on them, starting to turn a little purple. This is actually my compost, where I bring it out here and bury it. And, pretty quick turnover, and it's ready to go. This is actually cantaloupe that's growing out of the compost pile. Speaking of cantaloupe, I have 35 cantaloupe plants here. Some of it growing up the fence. In between it, I got my second round of green beans going. Cantaloupe are doing extremely well. I'm going to have hundreds of cantaloupe here soon. There's a whole lot of them. Can never find one when I want them. It's loaded. Okay, over here I've got a grafted tomato plant. And it's called an indigo rose, and it is the plant that was eaten by the deer in Carson City, and it's coming back, starting to flower. It's doing pretty good. Now, this is my eggplant. This is like the biggest eggplant I have ever seen. Let's see if I can get in here with the camera. Oh yeah, baby. Nice eggplant down there. It has several blossoms on it. It's really cool. I had planted artichoke over in another part of the yard, and it was in the shade, so it wasn't growing very well, so I moved it over here. They're starting. Alright, these tomatoes. When my squash was very small, I had planted some tomatoes, and one day I found them underneath the large squash leaves, and so I transplanted them over here, and they're doing really well. And I've got these cages built for them. Sweet pea flowers coming up. Blackberry here. Some blackberries on it. Got some garlic going here. Alright, over here is buttercup squash, and it's a climber. So I got it growing up the back fence. There's quite a few buttercup squashies going on it. And quite a few more to come. This thing's just beginning. This is the second part of my garden that I planted 3 weeks after I planted the first part. So my onions are still young. More garlic. Over here I got radishes. I'm on my third round of radishes. This here is a bell pepper. Over here I got spinach. onions. I tried to grow some carrots, it was too late. They didn't come up. This is all cilantro. It's kind of huge right now. I get my second round of peas. There's quite a few peas going already on them. Very young. I've got some basil. In here I've got mustard and cauliflower. They kind of got mixed together when I was planting, and so that's what I got. I planted some more cauliflower here recently, obviously. Alright, with the exception of more marigolds and some flowers, Centropia flowers, and that's the lower half of my garden. Over here, we'll start with the mighty corn. My corn is 10 feet high in some places. Stalks are looking good. This is my squash, and it's a sea of squash. I planted this on May 26th, 2013, and we've been getting a lot of squash, and just when I think they're done, they come back again. And I've been having problems with squash bugs, but I'm actually winning the war, and my plants are producing really well. This is broccoli, and I just picked my first head today. It was finally ready. Nice big head. And this here is just getting started. Nice broccoli stalks. And down in here on the other side of the corn, we got lettuce and onions. And there's carrots back in there too. Then here, we've got watermelon. Planted like 12 plants, and 3 came up, and I'm very thankful for that because the watermelon has gone crazy. And then I learned that I could grow watermelon vertical, so I let it go. I've got marigold flowers in here. So started growing them up vertical. And then I put watermelons in a bag with holes in it so it can breathe. This actually went up through the grapes, over the top, and back down, and I have another watermelon. Almost time to bag that one up. And there's others on other vines that are going up. I think I counted 12 watermelons that I have going. Yeah. Pretty cool. This area I'm walking on now, I just pulled my first round of peas and green beans out of there. So over here, next to the watermelon, I've got cucumber. And I Also, I'm growing cucumber vertical. And the plant's going crazy. I've got some weird looking cukes started there. Finally. More marigold down there. And here's my tomatoes. And these tomatoes we bought, there's beefsteak on each end and an heirloom, yes, an heirloom in the middle there. And these things were just going nuts. I had them surrounded in a wire cage and they were just a mess. And so I cleaned them all out, took off all the suckers, well, not all of them, but a lot of them. And before, the heirloom was the only one that was producing, and it's doing great right now. Before, all I could get was one tomato at a time, and now it looks like they're starting to turn quite a few of them at a time. And then this one here, the beefsteak, it's finally getting its first tomatoes. And this one over here, it looks really happy, it's starting to get some nice flowers on it. So I think they're going to do fine now that I cleaned them up. And down here, this is my cayenne pepper plant. And it's crazy. That one's near and ready. This one here is a hot pepper. I planted it from seed. It's doing well. This one here is another hot pepper I planted from seed. There's a Fresno chili pepper that I actually bought for a couple bucks. It's small, but and this is my big bell. And he's finally starting to give off some really cool bells here. Then I've got another bell here that I actually ripped the head off early when I was putting the wire around the tomatoes. And then this here's another bell that these all came together when I bought them. And this here is a mild pepper I grew from seed. And another mild pepper. And I have the remnants of some spinach here. This is cilantro that I planted in the spring. It's almost done. Now we're getting into my herb garden. I've got some Swiss chard here. Then the herbs start. And I've got basil. I've got one kind going here that I planted. And another kind here that I planted. And then I bought this basil. It's going nuts. It's another one that I planted. This here is pineapple sage. And it's yummy. And I've got some lavender here. And tarragon. And then just today I planted this. This is spearmint. This is mentha. Here's another basil plant, a variety. And then this here is peppermint. I've got parsley here, rosemary, thyme, got some dill. And I've got a big marigold plant. And this is regular oregano. Here I've got Greek oregano. This is chocolate mint. This here is lemon basil. And this here is lemon balm. I don't know if you remember the grapes. Green grapes. They're quite massive. I'm going to have to cut them back some next year because they're taking a lot of the sun out of here for gardening. So there you go. That's my garden.